Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every person's life when the storm rises, the winds howl, the waves crash, and the night gets darker than it's ever been. And in that moment, it is not strength of the body, it is not money in the bank, it is not fame or fortune that saves you. It is your mindset. Let me tell you something. A strong mind is stronger than any enemy. A strong mind doesn't break when the pressure comes, it grows. A strong mind doesn't run when the fire gets hot. It walks through the fire and comes out refined like gold. But how do you build such a mind? First, you must believe before you see. The greatest victories are born in the battlefield of faith. You must declare, I will rise, even when you are still on your knees. You must say, I am not done, even when everything says it's over. Faith is the seed from which a victorious mindset grows. Second, remember this. Emotions will lie to you, but endurance tells the truth. You may feel tired. You may feel afraid. You may feel unworthy, but keep going anyway. Keep moving forward, because strength is not in never feeling weak. Strength is found in what you do when you feel weak. Third, don't just chase success. Live with purpose. If your mind is anchored in purpose, no storm can shake you. Pain becomes fuel. Struggle becomes training. Your why will keep you standing when everything else is falling. Fourth, understand this. Discipline is the gatekeeper of greatness. Every day, choose to sharpen your thoughts. Choose what you read, what you say, what you listen to. Protect your mind like a soldier guards the city gate, because what enters your mind shapes your future. Fifth, your words are weapons. Speak life, speak courage, speak true, speak true. Say it until you believe it. Say it until it becomes who you are. Don't wait for the world to approve you. Declare your strength, your victory, your comeback before it even begins. And finally, face the fire. Don't run from it. Don't hide from the hard things. Go through them. Because that fire is not there to destroy you. It's there to build you. The fire makes kings. The fire makes warriors. The fire makes minds that can't be broken. Let me tell you something. You don't need everything around you to be perfect. You don't need everyone to understand. You just need a made-up mindset on victory, a mindset on purpose, a mind that says, I will not quit. And if you build that mind, there is nothing you cannot defeat. Before the mountain moves, before the chains break, before the light shines, before the doors open, there must be a belief deep within you, a whisper in your spirit, a voice that says it's possible even when everything screams it's not. Because belief is not the reward for seeing the miracle. It is the birthplace of the miracle, a seed planted in the dark before there's ever a glimpse of dawn. The spark in your chest that refuses to die even when the winds of doubt try to blow it out. Because what you believe before you see determines what you will ever see at all. The world will say, show me the results and then I'll believe. But heaven speaks differently. It says, believe first, speak first, move first, praise first, spark first. Even when there's nothing in your hand, even when your eyes are filled with tears, even when the ground shakes and the voices mock and the evidence says you're foolish. Because true power is found not in waiting for signs, but in becoming the sign, becoming the proof, becoming the person who dares to believe with nothing to hold but hope, with nothing to show but trust, with nothing to lean on but a word deep in the soul that says, you must build the house while the sky is still cloudy, prepare the field while the ground is still dry, sing the song when there's no music playing, because believing before you see is not a trick of the mind. It is the mindset of champions, the courage of prophets, the heart of warriors, the kind of belief that creates roads through red seas, that brings water from rocks, that brings giants to their knees before you ever lift a stone. And if you wait to believe until you see, then you'll never see the things that only belief can bring into existence. Some people wait for the perfect condition, the perfect moment, the perfect answer before they dare to dream, before they dare to move. But those who carry the undefeatable mindset are the ones who stand in the still shout, who walk through the valley and still praise, who see no harvest and still sow, because they know that belief isn't built on what's around them. It's built on what's within them. And when your belief is rooted in who you are and not what you see, no setback can shake you. No storm can stop you. No delay can discourage you. The moment you choose to believe before you see is the moment you step out of limitation and into creation, because your belief shapes your vision shapes your action shapes your reality, and your reality begins to align with what was once only a whisper, only a vision, only a flicker of hope in your chest, and what others called crazy becomes history. What is called impossible becomes testimony. What others said could never be becomes the very thing they now stand in awe of. because you dared to believe before you saw. It's easy to believe when everything's working, when the lights are on, when the crowd is cheering. But the real test is when the room is empty, when the prayers feel unanswered, when the battle is long and the wounds are fresh and the dream feels distant. Yet something inside you still says, I know it's coming. Something inside you still says that this isn't the end. Something inside you still says that my breakthrough is already in motion, because that's the kind of belief that births the unshakable mindset, the kind that doesn't bow to doubt, doesn't flinch under pressure, doesn't die when it's tested. To believe before you see is to declare war on every voice of fear, to rise up against every lie of failure, to silence every echo of insecurity that tries to remind you of your past, to look ahead with fire in your bones and say, I was made for more. And when you say that, when you believe that, when you hold that belief with everything inside you, you begin to attract the kind of strength, wisdom, courage, and clarity that no man, no failure, no opposition can steal from you, because you didn't borrow your belief from what you saw. You pulled it from the depths of who you were born to be. So stand up, even if you're trembling, speak life. Even if your voice cracks, take the first step, even if you can't see the whole path. And don't wait for the world to approve it. Don't wait for the signs to align. Don't wait for the applause or the green light. Just move, just believe, just walk forward, knowing that faith is not waiting for sight. It's walking until sight catches up. It's believing until reality bends to your vision. It's trusting the process even when the process doesn't. And if you can live like that, if you can believe before you see, then you will not just survive this life, you will conquer it. There will come moments when your emotions will scream for you to stop, when fear will wrap its hands around your feet and try to freeze your progress, when frustration will whisper lies into your ears, saying you're not good enough, not strong enough, not ready. And in those moments, if you live by how you feel, you will quit before the breakthrough, give up before the blessing, walk away just before the door opens, because emotions are temporary, but purpose is eternal. And if you want a mindset that cannot be broken, you must learn to trust endurance more than emotion. You must learn to walk forward even when every part of you wants to sit down. Emotion says that this is too hard, but endurance says to take another step. Emotion says that nobody sees you, but endurance says to keep building anyway. Emotion says it's not happening fast enough, but endurance says what's coming is worth waiting for, because endurance is not loud, not flashy, not emotional. It is steady, it is consistent, it is quiet strength when the soul is tired. And if you learn to lean on endurance and not emotion, you will rise while others sink. You will finish what others only fantasized about. You will hold the promise while others still chase feeling. You must understand this. Your emotions are real, but they are not always true. They speak, but they do not always speak in alignment with your purpose. They shout in the moment, but fade with time. Yet endurance holds firm through every season. It carries you through the valleys where motivation won't go. It builds in you a strength that doesn't show up in the mirror, but in your character, in your fight, in your persistence, in your refusal to when the world expects you to crumble. And every time you choose endurance over emotion, you are casting the bricks of an unbreakable mountain. There are people more talented, more connected, more resourced than you. But if you outlast them, you will outdo them, because endurance doesn't need to be the fastest or the flashiest. It just needs to be the one still standing when everyone else. It just needs to be the one who kept showing up, kept working the vision, kept trusting the process. And when the dust settles and the noise fades and the applause is gone, it is the one who endured who will be crowned, the one who chose persistence over comfort, the one who kept walking when emotion said, you've walked far enough. You see, emotions are like weather. They change with the winds of your surroundings, but endurance is like the mountain, unmoved, unshaken, unyielding. And if you can learn to feel your feelings but not be led by them, to acknowledge the storm but still sail through it, to hear the noise but stay focused on the signal, you will become a force the world cannot contain. Because people may underestimate your silence. They may misread your stillness. But they will never be able to deny the strength that comes from a mind governed not by what it feels, but by what it knows to be true. The road to greatness is not paved with constant inspiration. It's covered in early mornings when you don't feel like rising, the work doesn't seem to be paying off. Lonely seasons where you wonder if it's worth it. And in those moments when emotion would have you turn back. It is endurance that says, stay the course. It is endurance that holds the line when the feelings vanish. It is endurance that lets you dig deep, push through, and press on. because there is a finish line waiting that emotion will never carry you to, but endurance will. So build your mindset not on mood, but on mission, not on impulse, but on intention, not on comfort, but on calling. And you will find that your feelings, while real, do not deserve the steering wheel of your life, that your emotions, though loud, do not get to dictate your direction. And the more you practice endurance, the more natural it becomes, the more your spirit becomes resilient, your decisions become steady, your heart becomes focused. And people will wonder how you kept going, how you stayed strong, and you will simply say, I didn't feel like it. Because at the end of the day, your breakthrough doesn't belong to the most emotional, the most dramatic, the most expressive. It belongs to the most enduring, the one who bled but didn't stop, cried but didn't quit, doubted but kept walking, feared but kept walking, feared but kept climbing, felt everything and still didn't bow. And if you can become that person, if you can make endurance your anthem and persistence your pulse, then there is no storm that can drown you, no wall that can block you, no weight that can break you, because the mindset that endures is the mindset that wins. Every time without, there comes a point when motivation fades, when applause dies down, when no one's clapping and the path ahead feels longer than you ever imagined it would be. And in that moment, what carries you forward is not hype, not fame, not validation. It is purpose. It is the reason buried in your soul that burns even when the spotlight is gone, that whispers to keep going when nothing outside of you is saying anything at all. Because purpose-driven thinking is not about chasing the world's attention. It's about answering the call that was placed inside you before the world ever knew your name. Paragraph 2, purpose-driven thinking sees past the pain, past the pressure, past the problems, and keeps its eyes fixed on the promise. Because when your mind is anchored in why you were born, when your thoughts are tethered to something eternal, something meaningful, something bigger than likes and comments and trophies and applause, you become dangerous to anything that tries to distract you, unshakable in the face of delay, unstoppable when obstacles rise up. Pure drive is not fueled by emotion or convenience. It is powered by conviction. And conviction is a fire that can't be put out by storms. You have to think bigger than the moment, bigger than your feelings, bigger than your setbacks. Purpose is the lens that lets you see the long game, that helps you endure the now for the sake of the next, that gives you strength to sacrifice pleasure today so you can walk in destiny tomorrow. And when your thinking is governed by purpose, you stop asking, is this easy? And start asking, is this worth it? You stop chasing quick wins and start building lasting impact. You stop reacting to life and start creating it with every decision you make and every thought you allow. Purpose doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't panic when things take time. It sits steady like a compass inside your chest, pointing true north when the world spins fast, guiding your thoughts when chaos surrounds you. Holding you still when the winds of distraction try to pull you off course, and the longer you walk with purpose-driven thoughts, the clearer your path becomes, the louder your inner voice gets, the stronger your spirit grows, until you no longer need permission to move forward. You no longer wait for signs to act, you just go because purpose told you so. Purpose-driven thinking turns problems into fuel, turns setbacks into steps, turns failure into formation, because it's not looking for the easiest way. It's looking for the right way, and the right way is often the hard way, the narrow way, the way filled with resistance that sharpens you, breaks you, shapes you into who you're called to be. And when your mind starts thinking like this, you become immune to distractions that once had power over you, because you're no longer chasing comfort. You're chasing calling, and calling demands everything, but it also gives everything that matters. When your thoughts are led by purpose, you stop asking, how do I avoid pain, and start asking, how do I grow through it? You stop craving escape and start seeking elevation. You stop living for reaction, start leading with intention, and everything changes. Not just your output, but your attitude. Not just your pace, but your peace. Not just your dreams, but your decisions. Because when your mind is filled with purpose, you don't waste energy on petty things, on shallow battles, on temporary noise. You rise above it. You live beyond it. You build something that outlives it. People may not understand you, may not clap for you, may not see what you see, but it doesn't matter, because purpose is not a crowd-sourced mission. It is a soul-sourced mandate. And when you lock in on that, you become a person who thinks with clarity, who moves with authority, who plans with vision and prays with fire, because your mindset is no longer influenced by fear, by trends, by timelines, but by truth. And truth doesn't bend when pressure comes. Truth doesn't break when time passes. Truth just stands. And that's exactly what a purpose-driven mind does, that stands. So fix your thoughts on the reason you were created, on the lives you're called to impact, on the legacy you're destined to leave behind. And let that purpose burn so hot in your thinking that doubt can't live near it. Fear can't survive under it. Weakness can't win against it. And every time life tries to pull you off track, every time failure tries to cloud your focus, every time voices try to distract your direction, you will return to the fire, return to the vision, return to the why, and remind yourself that when your mind is full of purpose, you don't just survive, you lead, you lift, you conquer, you endure, and you finish. They told you freedom was doing what you want, how you want, chasing feelings, chasing comfort, chasing pleasure. But what they didn't tell you is that kind of freedom has chains wrapped in gold, a trap that looks like liberty but robs your strength, steals your time, and drains your potential, because true freedom, the kind that lasts, the kind that elevates, the kind that multiplies your life, only comes through discipline, through the decision to master yourself, to rule your mind, to own your choose discipline. You choose discipline, you're not losing freedom. Finally finding discipline is waking up before the world needs you, and building before the world sees you, and staying consistent long after the motivation has left you, because discipline doesn't beg for hype. It doesn't wait for applause. It doesn't care if anyone notices. It just shows up again and again and again. Stacking quiet victories, winning in the shadows, grinding in the silence, building the life you were born to live, not because it's easy or fun or convenient, but because the goal is worth the grind and the price is worth the promise, and discipline understands that freedom is earned, not wished for. Every time you choose discipline, you're taking back your time, taking back your focus, taking back your strength from the distractions that would love to steal your day, from the emotions that would love to run your life, from the habits that would love to keep you. Because discipline says I decide. Discipline says I lead my life. Discipline says I will not be a slave to my comfort or my cravings or my circumstances. And when you start living like that, you don't become rigid. You become untouchable, unbreakable, unstoppable. Because discipline doesn't limit your life. It unlocks. The truth is, anything you want in life that matters, excellence, mastery, success, peace, health, legacy, it's on the other side of discipline. Not emotion, not motivation, not hype. Because those things can come and go like the wind, but discipline is the rock you build your future on. The structure you hang your purpose on. The anchor that holds your vision steady when storms come, and they will come. But when you're built on discipline, the winds may blow, but they don't bend you. The pressure may rise, but it doesn't break you, because you've trained your mind. You've trained your habits, and now your habits train your future. You think freedom is sleeping in, skipping the hard stuff, taking the easy road, but that road is crowded with regret, paved with wasted time, filled with people who had potential but never saw it through. And the real freedom, the kind that lets you breathe deep because you showed up when you didn't feel like it, that lets you sleep well because you earned your, that lets you walk tall because you kept your word to yourself. That kind of freedom only comes when you've lived the kind of life discipline requires, when you've denied the lesser path to walk the high one, when you've turned your pain into progress and your effort into excellence. Discipline is saying yes when it's hard and no when it's tempting. It's showing up when you're tired and working. When you'd rather rest, it's doing the reps when nobody's counting and making the calls when nobody's stopping. It's preparing in private so you can perform in public. And when people ask you how you do it, when they wonder where your strength comes from, you'll look them in the eyes and say, this is not talent. This is training. This is not luck. This is locked in focus. This is not giftedness, this grit. Because discipline is not something you feel, it's something you be. And the beautiful paradox is this: the more disciplined you become, the more freedom you have, the more space you create to dream, to create, to move, to build, because you've cleared the clutter, silenced the noise, mastered your time, sharpened your edge, and now you can run faster, think clearer. Love deeper, lead better, because your life is no longer at the mercy of feelings or fears or fads. It's built on the bedrock of discipline, and that kind of life doesn't just happen by accident. It happens by choice, daily, repeatedly, relentlessly. So decide now, not when it's easy, but because it's hard, not when it's popular, but because it's powerful. To live a life ruled not by feelings, but by focus, not by comfort, but by calling, not by chaos, but by commitment. You won't just reach goals, you'll build legacies. You won't just get results, you'll become a result. You won't just touch greatness, you'll become greatness, because discipline is the gate to every kind of freedom you've ever wanted. And once you step through, you'll never go back. There will be days when the world forgets your name, when silence echoes louder than support, when it feels like everyone is cheering for someone else and no one is clapping for you. And at those moments, you've got to be the one who opens your mouth and speaks life into your own soul. Not because you feel strong, but because you remember who you are. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because if you're waiting on the world to validate you, you'll die in the waiting room. But when you speak life into yourself, you don't just survive, you rise. You have the power to shape the atmosphere inside your head, to rewire your thoughts, to shift your direction with your declaration. And the words you say to yourself are either building your future or breaking it, either watering your greatness or choking it, either fueling your fight or draining your fire, because words are not empty. They are energy, they are seeds, they are battleships that move the course of your day. And if you want to live with power, you've got to stop cursing your life with doubt and stop blessing it with truth over and over again until the lie has no place to live. You've got to wake up every day and speak into the mirror, and not what you see, but what you believe. Not what you feel, but what you know. Because there will be mornings when the weight of yesterday tries to follow you, when the voice of fear tries to be louder than your faith. And in that moment, you don't wait to feel powerful. You speak power. You don't wait to feel worthy. You declare worth. You don't wait for evidence. You become the evidence, because when you speak life into yourself, your words become weapons that tear down every lie trying to live rent-free in your mind. You've been through too much to be silent now. Been through storms, heartbreaks, setbacks, rejections that tried to bury you but didn't break you. And that is proof that there is still something inside of you the enemy couldn't touch, couldn't steal, couldn't silence. And your job now is to protect that flame, to guard that fire, to speak over it daily like your life depends on it. Because it does, because you become what you continually confess. And if your future depends on your voice, then your victory depends on what you speak into the dark when no one's watching and nothing's easy. You don't need a stage to be powerful. You don't need a mic to speak life. All you need is a willing spirit, a made-up mind, the audacity to prophesy over your own path, to speak to the mountains in your way and command them to move, to speak to the fear and tell it it's finished, to speak to the doubt and tell it it has no dominion here, because if God gave you breath, he gave you power, and your words weren't made just to react. They were made to create, to shift, to command, to breathe resurrection into places that look dead, and remind yourself that you are not done, not broken, not forgotten. You are rising. And when you speak life into yourself, you begin to carry a presence that doesn't need validation to be valuable, a strength that doesn't need applause to stand tall, a peace that doesn't need perfection to be powerful. Because your worth is no longer tied to circumstance. It's tied to your confession, to the identity you've chosen to speak over yourself every single day. And when the world throws confusion, you speak clarity. When it throws delay, you speak destiny. When it throws fear, you speak fire. And you become the kind of person who doesn't just talk about hope, but becomes it. You don't have time to speak small, think small, live small when you were built for greatness, born with fire, designed with purpose. And every word you speak is either unlocking your potential or keeping it in chains. So choose wisely, speak boldly, prophecy with precision. Because the words you say to yourself will either be the prison you live in or the wings you fly with. And every time you open your mouth to declare truth, declare vision, declare life, you are breaking chains off of future days, setting your soul in alignment and becoming a living echo of power. When it's dark, speak light. When it's hard, speak strength. When it's slow, speak acceleration. When you feel nothing, speak something. When you feel weak, speak warrior. When you feel forgotten, speak chosen. And don't wait for someone else to crown you. Open your mouth, lift your head. Straighten your back and speak life into yourself like it's the only option left, because maybe it is. And maybe that's the point, because when you learn to speak life with no applause, no crowd, no cheer, only fire in your gut and breath in your lungs, that's when you stop waiting to be powerful and finally become it. Who want to hit the final one? A faith over force splits into home. There will come a time when the heat rises, when pressure surrounds you, when fear screams louder than reason, when everything in you wants to run, to hide, to escape the moment because the fire feels too close, too hot, too heavy, and everything in your nervous system is wired to flee. But hear me, you were not built to run from the flames. You were born to walk through them, because there are some things in you that can only be revealed in fire, some strength that can only be unlocked in heat, some purpose that will only rise once the pressure is on. So don't flee, face it. The fire may look like failure, may look like fear, may look like rejection, betrayal, heartbreak, risk, vulnerability, or pain. But what it really is, what it's always been, is refinement, transformation, the process of burning off what you were never meant to carry so what's real can remain. Because there's gold inside you, but gold doesn't shine until it's been through fire. And if you avoid the heat, you delay the breakthrough. If you run from the flame, you run from the future. And every time you flee what was meant to forge you, you give fear authority it was never meant to have. You've got to decide that fear doesn't get the final say, that comfort doesn't get to call the shots, that quitting isn't in your vocabulary, that the flame doesn't mean you're finished. It means you're becoming. It means something is shifting, something is breaking, something is rising. And when everything in you says to get out, you look it square in the eye and say, I go through. Because the only way to grow is to face the very thing you fear and walk through it like it doesn't own you. Because it doesn't, and you won't just survive it. You'll be shaped by it. Every great story, every unstoppable soul, every purpose-driven life has a fire moment. That point where you could run, but you don't. Where you could escape, but you stand. Where you could fold, but instead you rise. And in that moment, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fearless to be fearless. You just have to be willing to face the fire and not flee, to show up when it's hard, to stay in when it burns, to trust that the same fire meant to break you will end up building you if you refuse to run from it, and instead lean into it with open hands and a made-up mind. Because fire is not your enemy. It's your evolution, not your punishment. It's your promotion, not your defeat. It's your doorway. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it scares. Yes, it tests the thing in you. But that is the cost of becoming the version of you that doesn't break under pressure, doesn't run from resistance, doesn't let hard moments have the final word. And if you want to see who you really are, if you want to meet the part of you that can't be, you've got to face the fire and walk into it knowing that the same God who allowed the flames will also walk you through them. You are not alone in the furnace, not abandoned in the heat, not forsaken in the trial. You are forged in it. You are refined by it. You are growing through it. And every step you take inside that fire is burning off the fear, the doubt, the insecurity, the shame, the weakness that never belonged to you anyway. And what's left is pure. What's left is true. What's left is you. Not the version they see, but the version he made, the version that was never afraid of fire, but was born for it, called for it, sir. And once you face one fire, you realize the heat can't own you, the pain can't hold you, the pressure can't stop you, and every fire after that gets smaller, every fear after that gets quieter, every threat after that loses its teeth because you didn't run. And now you know what lives inside you isn't weak or soft or scared. It's steel, it's spirit, it's sacred. And you become a living testimony that fire doesn't kill purpose. It reveals it, that storms don't stop destiny, they strengthen it. That pressure doesn't bury potential. So the next time you see the flame, don't turn away, don't look for the exit, don't try to numb it, silence it, or skip it. Stand tall, plant your feet, lift your head, and walk into it knowing that fire can't destroy what's divine. And your soul was made for the heat. Your heart was made for the battle. Your mind was made to endure. And if you face the fire long enough, with faith big enough, with a spirit fierce enough, you'll walk out of it not even smelling like smoke, but shining with purpose, glowing with strength, and ready for anything that tries to test you now.